In a recent survey I conducted with 3,000 recruiters from different companies around the world, I asked them about the top 10 reasons candidates get rejected in job interviews. These are things you say, phrases you use, behaviors you show that will definitely get you rejected in an interview. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the 10 things that most often lead to rejection in interviews. So pay attention, grab a pen and paper, and write everything down. The first thing that gets people rejected a lot is what? Focusing too much on salary, benefits, or just the job itself, and not enough on the challenge of the position. Of course, I work because I need money, I need to pay my bills, I need to support my life. And then in the interview comes the question, why did you choose to work at Apple? Why do you want to work at the Walmart Group? These questions are going to come up in any interview anywhere in the world. However, in your answer, try to focus much more on your connection with the position and the company than on your individual reasons. Wrong answer. Oh, I'd like to work here at Volkswagen mainly because of the benefits the company offers and especially because of the flexible working hours. That's a bad answer in your interview. Now, if you focus on the challenges of the position, for example, I'd like to work at Volkswagen for 3 important reasons. The first is that they've been investing in sustainable technologies, and at my last company, I worked with sustainable rubber technologies for tires, so I believe I can help with that challenge. Then you add 1 or 2 more reasons that relate to the position. If you focus too much on salary, workload, and benefits, you'll get rejected. What's the second big reason for rejection? Saying that you simply didn't have sufficient time to thoroughly study the specific job opening, okay? One crucial thing that interviewers genuinely like to hear is that you know a significant bit about the company, a good bit about their products, and also a fair bit about the current market conditions. It's not that you have to be an expert in it. That's not the point. But when you haven't studied anything about the business, nothing about the company, you'll also fall behind your competitors, the other candidates. For example, when the question comes up, why would you like to work at our company? That's a good opportunity for you to mention, gently, right, a bit about your knowledge of the company. So, just like I gave the example of Volkswagen, I noticed that you've been developing sustainable rubber technologies, and I worked with that at my last company. So, you create a way to connect yourself to the business. When you don't do that, when you haven't studied or didn't have time to learn anything about the company, you're also likely not to do well in the interview. Third important point that leads to rejection. Many times, some questions from the manager or from the recruiter in the HR department are already on your resume. So, for example, they ask me, tell me, how many years did you work at Chevrolet? Then, the wrong answer that gets you rejected. Oh, it's on my resume. I was there for 2 years and 6 months. Now, just to add a side note here, a quick point. He saw that it's on your resume. He already noticed what's on your resume. If he's asking, it's because he wants to know a little more about that story you had there for 2 years and 6 months, for example. He wants to understand that a bit better, and that's your chance to explain. So, candidates who give very uniform answers, who answer very briefly, say very little, and even respond with, it's on my resume. Those are the candidates who don't make it through the interview. Think of it this way. For every question the recruiter or manager asks you, try to answer for 2 to 3 minutes, explaining what you did, which technologies you worked with, who you reported to, who your boss was, what your professional achievements were, always staying on topic with the question asked. You'll have a much better chance of getting approved. Yeah. Fourth point that gets people rejected out of these 10. Pay attention to the next ones, especially the 8th, 9th, and 10th, which I believe are the worst. Fourth, the question comes up, tell me about your weaknesses. Wrong answer. I don't know my weaknesses. I'm just too much of a perfectionist. Seriously? Is that really so? Be honest, we're human. We all have flaws, difficulties, and problems. Just don't mention weaknesses that would get in the way of the job. So, for example, if I'm going to be a doctor, I'm a candidate for a doctor position at a hospital, I can't say that I don't like to study, like, oh, I have a flaw, I don't like to study. A doctor has to be studying all the time, right? Now, let's move on to the fifth reason. Before I go on, maybe you want to do a mock interview, your own interview, like a live interview simulation. Then I'll interview you according to the job opening, give you feedback, whether you did well or not, where you need to improve, and so on. Just reach out on WhatsApp. The number is right here on the screen. International code 5511-97706, 5417. But you can also contact me through the WhatsApp link, which is in the first pinned comment and also in the video description. The prices are low for subscribers of the Job Room channel, okay? Just reach out. Here, videos are never missing and never fail. There's a new video every Wednesday at 1 p.m. All I need is your subscription and your like. Fifth big reason for getting rejected in interviews. Yeah, this one is terrible. Never say this. I want to have my own business. I've been thinking about this for a few years now, and today I'm saving up for it. So let me ask you, would you really hire someone who in a year or two wants to start their own business? Of course, having your own business is great, but for the person interviewing you, they don't want to hear that you want to have your own business. They want to hear that you want to grow, learn, deliver results, meet goals, and overcome challenges in the position they're looking to hire you for. So, candidates who are really set on entrepreneurship and having their own business should mention it in the interview. Don't say that. It's not lying, it's omitting or hiding it because you really shouldn't talk about that. Sixth reason for rejection. I don't have any final questions. Do you have any final questions? No, I don't have any final questions. It's not good to end your interview without a final question, okay? Let me quickly suggest 2 questions. At the end of the interview, the interviewer asks me, "Do you have any questions? Anything you'd like to ask?" I say, "First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to interview. Yes, I do have a question. I'd like to know what are the main technologies I need to master or learn to adapt more quickly to the position." That's a good question. A second question, is there anything I could study while you're finishing the selection process so that if I'm hired, I can be more prepared to take on this position? So what does that show? A willingness to learn, a desire to be there. So those are good questions. Never end an interview without asking a question, okay? Eighth tip, or rather, eighth mistake. When you talk about problems with bosses, coworkers, clients, never bring that up in an interview. Never bring that up in an interview. If you left any company, no matter which one, and you had more serious problems with the coordinator, the director, the supervisor, or whoever it was, avoid mentioning them during the interview for 2 reasons. Reason 1, the person interviewing you at that moment, the interviewer, won't have the chance to hear the other side. Since they won't have the chance to hear the other person, they'll always question what you're saying. So, for example, if someone asks me, "Tell me a bit about the work you did at Santander Bank." Tell me a little about what you did at Santander Bank. And then I developed, for example, activities A, B, and C, but I had a lot of difficulties. My manager changed his mind very often. It was really hard to deliver projects because he was never satisfied. I started speaking badly about my manager. That's a terrible approach, and you'll fail the interview if you do that. Remember this. Ninth point that I think, this 9th and the 10th are honestly the most concerning in my opinion, okay? If you've made it this far in the video, leave a like, drop a comment for me so that my project here at Job Room to spread interview tips worldwide can reach more people. Very theoretical answers will also get you rejected. You know? The interviewer asks, "Tell me about a challenge," and then the person says, "Oh, challenges are important in one's career." Without a doubt, challenges help us grow. They help us develop our personality, improve team results. But they don't actually explain what happened in practice. That's why I always recommend using the STAR method, where you describe a situation, a task you handled, the action you took, and the result. So, for example, let's say I'm going to work at a pharmacy and they ask me, "Tell me about a time when you went above and beyond." Well, there was a situation where a certain customer needed to buy a medication that was out of stock, and his son depended on that medicine. That's the situation. My task from that point on was, since we didn't have it in stock, I started looking for it in other places, even in other pharmacy chains that weren't the one I worked for, just to be able to help that family. From there, I took action. I got the person's WhatsApp, Facebook, and Messenger contacts, and kept everything organized so that when I found the medication, I could get back to them. The result was that after 2 days, the supplier responded, brought the medication to my pharmacy, I sold it to him, and he even gave a great testimonial about the work and service I provided, which went far beyond what he expected. So, get into practice, bring the recruiter, the interviewer, into your work practice. This will get you through the interview. Interviews that are too theoretical, without good cases, good stories, you fail. 10th fundamental tip. Then I have an additional tip, which is closed questions you answer in just 2 seconds. What is your name? Romulo Gutierrez. What is your country of origin? Brazil. Where do you live? In Brazil. Closed questions. Tell us a little about your experience in human resources. Then I'll tell you more broadly. I'll talk for 2 to 3 minutes about the companies I've worked for, international companies I've represented, the number of people I've recruited, results I've achieved working in teams, mistakes I've made, and how I managed to fix them. For 2 to 3 minutes, I elaborate on the more open-ended questions. Now, another thing that gets people rejected, which I haven't mentioned yet, I left it as a mystery in this video, is the question, tell me about yourself. A lot of people stumble on this answer, giving really long responses without a good structure. And I left a complete guide for you to talk about yourself in the most positive way possible in the video right here. Go check it out. I'm rooting for you. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.